Back tonight and in focus, uMngeni Local Municipality first made news when it became the opposition Democratic Alliance's first ever municipal in KwaZulu-Natal to be won. Now, the municipality has now launched an aggressive and targeted campaign to get residents to pay their municipal bills. It has since embarked on electricity disconnections, load reduction and court processes to recover millions owed to it, and the plan is bearing fruit. Joining us now to talk more on this and successes and challenges in its interface with the residents is Mayor Christopher Pappas. Mayor, good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. Talk to us about the impact of the rain this past weekend. How is that hit on your infrastructure, roads and just progress in that municipality?
Good evening and thanks for having me. I think for us here, just off of the coast, it hasn't been so bad. We are still reeling from storms that happened in December and January and then again in April, to which the provincial and national government have offered no assistance so far. So we've had millions of damage from then. We were lucky this last weekend. We just had a sort of a decline in temperatures, which then led to other problems, but not so bad now. But again, yeah, like I said, from before December, January, millions of rands worth of damages and no help from national, provincial government.
Yeah. As far as revenue collection rates, when you came in, where were they sitting and where are they sitting now?
So to put you in the picture, we were about 1 month off of not paying, not being able to pay salaries in this municipality. We were paying off a loan that we took in order to pay salaries just a few months before that. We were unable to buy sort of PPE clothing, gloves, black bags, boots and things for our employees. And there was a complete shift in the budget towards things that we shouldn't be spending money on. Our deficit was big. We were losing, I think we were sitting on 0.2 days cash on hand when we first took office, which was really a dismal situation for the municipality, and around 239 million rands worth of outstanding debts to us. That was the situation.
And what strategy then did you put in place, one, to boost revenue collection, but also to close the leaks, not just in real terms of water, but monetary as well?
Sure. So I think for a very long time, there hasn't been, hands-on management. There hasn't been an actual understanding of what the budget and what it does for the municipality. So we've been very focused on, sort of putting the mechanisms in place to be able to spend the money, but not only that, to make sure that it is spent effectively and efficiently when doing so on the priority items. But more than that was, we had to show residents that there was something new, there was something hopeful. So it was a very careful balance between making sure that we start to deliver, but that we also keep the finances of the municipality stable and don't steal from, rob Peter to pay Paul type thing. So we started to do the basics. We started to clean the streets. We started to fix potholes with the little money that we have. We cancelled projects and reallocated funding from savings where there were. We started to reduce expenditure on contracts that weren't necessary for us to do so. And with that, in February, we were able to do an adjustment budget, which saw about 10 million rand that we were able to allocate towards different capital projects. 4 million rand to roads, 1.3 million rand for a TLB, 2.45 million rand for a refuse compactor. All these small things that we were able to then start to deliver to people and show them that there was really a change in the way that their money was being spent, and then thus instill some confidence in the residents and the ratepayers. So with that, we've been able to then improve on our month-to-month revenue collection. So there has been a general, a natural improvement with people seeing that their money is no longer being abused. But then, as you mentioned in your intro, we've also then, implemented quite a stringent recovery mechanism for monies outstanding to us, and that is both electricity and it's a number of issues: electricity rates, rentals, electricity. So there's been a number of things that we've done there. We've implemented a revenue enhancement strategy. We've implemented an electricity loss reduction strategy, all of which have different components which lead to better financial stability. I think what we've seen over the last 6 months is, as a municipality, through this program, we've been able to recover 25 million rands worth of debt that's been owed to us. Now, I know we listen to the big metros and they talk about billions and hundreds of millions that they recover, and they have these, 50, 60 billion rand budgets. But for a municipality that only has a 530 odd million rand budget, 25 million rand gives you a lot to do with. And one of the examples that we've managed to do is that usually small municipalities like ours, you get your equitable share, and on receiving your tranche of equitable share, it's almost the next day completely gone because it's committed to different projects, to creditors, and you owe people money and you can't spend it. We, for the first time in this municipality, have been able to not spend our equitable share, and it is still 30 million rand in the bank from that equitable share, the last allocation that we received this year. We've been able to pay Eskom directly out of self-generated funds. We've been able to pay our salaries out of self-generated funds, which is all a really good sign of recovery in terms of our finances.
Yeah. So I say the people in the area were simply not paying because they didn't trust that the money would be used for what it is meant to be used for. And now that, for example, I saw you made a huge celebration around the TLB. It was a big thing for you that you were able to purchase that particular piece of equipment. Now that you've done that, people are now more willing to pay, or do they need tougher measures of coercion like the disconnectivity for them to be able to pay?
So firstly, I must thank the residents for paying. The vast majority of residents do pay their rates. We can chat about the electricity issue separately, but the vast majority of people are paying their rates, and there are only a few people who have big amounts outstanding, and that is why we said we need to approach this more aggressively. There's only so many times you can ask nicely. There's only so many times you can try to tell people that their rates are not necessarily voluntary, but it is a tax. And for those hardworking South Africans who do pay diligently, it's unfair that there are some who can pay but don't. So we've really involved ourselves in sort of a partnership with residents to show the detrimental effects of not paying. And it becomes cyclical. If you don't pay, the municipality can't deliver services. If they can't deliver services, people are more inclined not to pay, and it becomes a horrible cycle. So we've shown residents with a little bit we can do more, and with that, people have seen that actually their money is going into good hands, which has been great. The electricity issue is a different issue, and I mean, we can have a conversation around that if you want as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because probably not the only municipality that is battling with that. There are a number of municipalities, even here in Gauteng, where there is a struggle around collecting revenue for electricity. How do you justify that heavy-handedness of having to cut off in a time like we are in now economically, coming out of the pandemic, especially in KwaZulu-Natal? There's been the unrest. There's also been now the floods. People would tell you, like, we just cannot cope. So when you're cutting something like electricity for people who are poor, some indigent households and so forth, it's not something that goes down well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not politically popular either. I mean, I have phone calls from members of the opposition telling me that they're going to mobilize strikes and the like for us just trying to implement the law. And like I said, it's not politically popular, but you have to balance what you're doing. On the one side, you're trying to improve the municipality and deliver services, and by delivering those services, that includes helping the vulnerable and the poor. And in helping the vulnerable and the poor, you have to create that safety net. So what we did is we addressed the safety net issue before we dealt with the disconnections issue. And in my public meetings, I speak about two different groups of people. I speak about those who are vulnerable. So your Ugogo with eight orphans, and she lives on a grant and in a 2-bedroom house, and she can't afford electricity. No matter how much you threaten disconnect, someone like that, you cannot humanely, and as a South African who wants to see progress, disconnect someone like that. But then there's those people who decide to buy a bottle of Hennessy before they pay for electricity. Those are the people who I say are stealing. They are stealing from the people who we could be helping. So when I say we started with the safety net, when we took government, people were only getting 50 free units of electricity every month. So we increased that. We said, well, as a responsive government, we wanted to be more, because we understand you can't do much with that. So we increased it to 150 free units per indigent household. We increased the threshold. It was 3,500 rand for qualifying threshold. We increased it to 5,000 rand so that more people could qualify for that. In addition to that, we put in other safety measures. For example, we know that households, people want to live in a clean environment, but to pay 56, 60 rand for black bags that is food on someone's table. That is a bag of sugar, a bag of rice, a bag of milli meal, whatever it might be. So we budgeted to provide that so that they live in a clean environment and don't have that added burden of trying to buy things like that. To roll out solar projects in informal settlements to lessen the load in places like that. So we have balanced our approach of revenue enhancement or loss reduction with an acknowledgement that there are people who are genuinely desperate out there. We know what the unemployment rate is like. We know what the state of poverty is like, but to measure that. But again, I always tell people that there has to be that balance. We all know those people who have full package DSTV, a car in the garage, they buy a bottle of Hennessy or vodka before they pay the electricity, and those would be the people who come out and strike when we go and disconnect people who would rather do that than pay for electricity so that we can offer the granny with 8 orphans more free electricity as a response. So there has to be that balance, and we understand it's not politically popular, but at the same time we're trying to run an institution that delivers to both the poor but also then advances or stabilizes middle income the middle income class here in the municipality, because that is the paying class. So there's that constant balance that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, and is that constant balance that revenue management and capacity building does not happen in silos, right? It happens within the context of a community. How sustainable is this revenue collection strategy for you? Is it something that you plan to keep in the long term, or it will differ depending on what the circumstances?
I think it has to differ. You have to be responsive. So, I mean, we're going into winter now, and it would be unfair to disconnect people en masse, even those who can afford it. You have to give people time. It also wouldn't be responsive for us to not listen to people. So there was a stage when we had started the disconnections in summer, and communities asked for public meetings. So we did a series of public meetings over a number of weekends where people brought up a number of things. They said, listen, please, can you replace old meters for us so that we can pay for electricity? Please, can you come out to more areas in the community so that it's easy for elderly to register for indigency? So we did that. So we every weekend we're out in different communities helping people to register, taking services to people. We went so far as reducing the conversion of old meters to new meters from 9,000 Rand to 3,600 Rand. And then going even further to say, if you're an indigent household, we'll replace your meter for free. So none of these things were in place before then. It's that relationship that we're creating with the community that helps progress this, this mission that we're on. Again, it's not popular for everyone, and it will be a political whipping tool for some. I know the opposition, despite, I'm actually implementing a policy that they approved. This policy was approved in September last year under the last government. All I'm doing is implementing that, and they had no problems with it then. But now, obviously, it's a mobilization tool. Everyone must get everything for free. Chris Pappas is the evil white man who's coming to make everyone pay. That's the rhetoric that's out there. But at the end of the day, we're trying to stabilize things so that we can actually help more people over the long time.
Mayor, I appreciate your time, as always. Thank you very much for coming on tonight here on In Focus. That is the Mayor of the uMngeni Local Municipality, Mayor Christopher Pappas.